I'm Scott of Scotty's Gun Works. What I thought I'd do today is make another video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be bluing some double barrel barrels. And they're soft soldered together. Of course, you can't use the regular bluing salts for those unless they're silver soldered. So these here particular barrels are soft soldered, and what I'm going to be using is a product from Brownells called Dicropan IM. It's a really good bluing. Takes a little bit of work to put it on though, and I've never made a video of me showing how that's done, so I thought, well, this right here would be a pretty good time to kind of walk everybody through this, kind of show them the process and the reasons why you would use this. You know, like I said, if the barrels are soft soldered together, you definitely wouldn't want to put them in them bluing salts, because what will happen is they'll separate. Of course, then you got to put them back together and all that. It's just a good rule of thumb not to use bluing salts on a soft soldered barrel. So we'll be going into the bluing room here in a minute. I've got everything already set up, and we'll just kind of walk you through the process. All right, before we go into the bluing room and start our procedure on the Dicropan IM bluing, I want to kind of go over a few things. Of course, obviously, you know, before you do this, you'll have your barrel, you know, prepped and ready to go. And basically, what it all boils down to, and of course, with this bluing here, you'll get detailed instructions on how it works and what to use and what to do. It'll tell you to look and make sure that there's a couple of holes drilled in the bottom of this right here, between the rib there, between the barrels. And what those holes are, they're vent holes. Most of the time, it'll have those holes drilled in it, but a lot of your soft soldered barrels won't. I have seen some that did, but this one here didn't. I had to drill the holes in it. And you want to make sure them holes are drilled there, and it'll give you detailed instructions on how to do that. And then what you want to do is you want to polish it. And when you polish it, I always use 140 grit polish rate. It recommends you not to go up no higher than 400, and the instructions basically boils down to this: the shinier it is, the more streaks seems to form in it. So basically what you want to do is you just want to kind of, the 140 seems to work really good for me, and what I'll do is I'll polish it down and get all the bad places out of it. I've got a spray on it right now where it won't rust. That's what's got that haze look to it. But I'll take and go over it after I'm done with my polishing. I'll just kind of go over it with 140, or I'm sorry, number 1 steel wool. And what that'll do is that'll just kind of put the brush marks in that I want, because that's what you're going to be using to cart the Dicropan bluing off of it. You'll put about anywhere from 5 to 8 coats of the Dicropan bluing IM on it, and you'll use that number 1 steel wool for that. And what you'll have to do is, after you get your barrel ready to go on bluing day, first thing you'll want to do, the first thing I like to do anyway, is get me, I use 4 pieces, but it says in the directions to use 2 pieces of number 1 steel wool. I use 4 pieces to make sure I've got more than enough, because once you start doing this, you don't want to have to stop and start degreasing more steel wool. And basically what you do is you just take your steel wool, go in a well ventilated area, you know, in front of a fan or something. Now I use acetone. I'll just roll out the steel wool, because it's just rolled up anyway. Each pad's rolled up. I'll unroll a pad of it and I'll stick it down in that acetone and, you know, slosh it around, then I'll pull it out, and then I'll just kind of let it air dry and shake it off and just hang it up and let it dry. And I'll do 4 of them like that. I'll put 3 of them together as one big wad. Then I'll have 1 piece by itself, and I use that 1 piece for my first carting of the Dicropan IM, because you're going to be using the other big wad to make sure that it's going to last you throughout the rest of the session, because you ain't sure how many coats you're going to put on there. So I always like to make sure I got more than enough steel wool. Since you're going to throw that first piece away anyway, ain't no sense in wasting no more than you have to. And what I do is, after I roll it out real good, I'll let that be the first thing I do, because there's different things we got to do to get started here. And I'll show you. I'll hang mine up on a hanger right here. I got the 1 piece, and I got the 3 pieces right there. You can see the difference in the wadding there. And I'll just let that hang there. I know it's absolutely dry. It's bone dry. It ain't got no oil in it or nothing like that. And it'll hang there until I'm ready for it. And that's just a good, you know, tip, good rule to remember. Because once you get started with this, and we're going to go over the steps here, and I'm going to show you in detail, to the best of my ability anyway, what it's going to take to do a good job with this stuff. There ain't really no room for error with it. Basically what it all boils down to Once you pull it out of that tank and it starts drying, you better make sure it's bone dry before you touch it. If you don't, and you get it wet after it dries, you'll have a brown stain form, and the only way you're going to get that off is to repolish that whole barrel. So you're going to be doing a lot of work here, so you want to make sure you do it right the first time, because you really ain't got time to do this overs. I mean, I don't know, maybe you do, but with me, I want to try to eliminate all the do-overs I can. So that's why I thought I'd make this video kind of explaining things. So now that we've got our steel wool prepped and ready, we've got our barrel prepped and ready, I'm going to go in there in the bluing room. I'm going to go ahead and light the 909 cleaner tank up, get it heated up to the appropriate temperature. My next step's going to be to go ahead and light the boiler tank up, which is a hot water tank. It's going to take 3 tanks. You're going to have a rinse tank, 909 tank, and you're going to have your boiler tank. So I got all them in there. I'm fixing to go in there and get them all ready to go. And once I get them ready to go up and running, I'll bring the camera in there and I'll show you the steps to get started with the process. All right, got the tanks heating up. This is the 909 tank. Got the hot water boil tank heating up, and of course we got our rinse tank here. Those are the 3 tanks you'll need. I've got my instructions tacked up on the wall here. This is the Dicropan IM. Comes with a full set of instructions, detailed instructions, showing you exactly what you need to do to make this process work. Of course, the first thing you'll want to do, is you'll want to make some swabs, which is nothing but cotton balls and some old pantyhose. You make 2 of those. And that's what you're going to be using to apply the Dicropan IM. Of course, I'll walk you through it step by step. I've already got the barrel set up over here. Got the pegs in the barrel. Basically, what that's going to do is help me to hold on to it as I, turn it and discard the Dicropan IM off of there. Of course, the first carding is going to be nothing but rust, because I'll have to heat the barrel up. It's always a good idea as well to have a heat gun set up in case you need to hurry the process up, because sometimes it might be wet in places, and I like to go ahead and dry that up with that heat gun, because it's very important. I can't stress enough about how important it is not to get that, not to touch anything that's going to be wet, because it'll just produce a stain. I apologize for the fans being on. I have to speak up. I hope everybody can hear me okay. But that's very necessary when I light these tanks up here. Of course, we ain't got nothing but these 2 here going, but definitely want to make sure we pull the humidity out of here and any carbon monoxide that might be lingering around. With anything like this, you want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. We're almost up to operating temperature here. Basically, what's going to boil down to, we've got the bluing tank here covered. You want to make sure that you don't contaminate anything around here with that dust that's going to be coming off of this. So basically what's going to boil down to is you'll just take and I'll wipe this down real good with a cleaner. Then I'll transfer it from this area here into this basket. Then it'll go into the basket into the 909 for 10 minutes, and then out of the 909 into the rinse tank, and then out of the rinse tank into the boiler tank. Of course, it won't have nothing on it at that point. It will just heat the metal up at that point. Well, I'll go ahead and reposition the camera, and we'll start walking through this. What we're doing now is we're going to wipe it down real good with some degreaser, some cleaner, before we go into our 909. Wipe it down real good, get all the spots. Making sure you got it looking wiped down. Then we'll transfer it into our basket. but it'll stay for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, our boiler is heating up. We'll come out of the basket. We'll go into the cold water rinse it off real good. Then we'll go into the boiler. We're out of the 909, into the rinse. Now we're in the boiler. We'll be in the boiler for 5 minutes. We'll let that boil up real good. And basically what we're doing here is we're just heating the steel up. I've got my timer set for 5 minutes there. It's counting down. And then I'll come out of that into the catch tank, and we'll let it get completely dry. And what I usually do, I've got a heat gun here that'll assist it. Just a good idea to have in there. You ain't got to have the heat gun, but I like that. That kind of makes good and sure that everything is dry, because I'm telling you, once you start putting that Dicropan IM on there, it'll definitely stain it if there's any wet spots. Alright, it's been 5 minutes now. It's been in the boiler. Now I'm going to take it out of the boiler and dry it off. Very important that this next step is crucial. We want to make sure it's good and dry, so what you'll do is you'll take it out of there and it'll dry pretty quick because it's extremely hot. Usually it dries really fast, and what I always do to assist it is I'll take my heat gun and I'll kind of dry it with that. Camera down there where you can see it. Put it on the peg there. Ain't really got to do this. It usually dries pretty good, but I can't stress enough of how important it is to make sure this is absolutely bone dry before you go on to the next step. Pegs, gloves, everything. I always remove the wooden pegs when I put it in the water, because I don't want them to soak up any water and pick up any water and streak it. So it's always a good idea to take them out when you put them in the boiler tank. Now our next step is going to be to make sure that our gloves are good and dry. Always a good idea to have your paper towels handy to make sure that everything's good and dry, because we do not want to get our first piece of steel wool wet. Now we'll make sure our gloves are dry, then we'll get our piece of steel wool. I've got it staged right outside here. That's our first piece, good and dry. Just got steel wool over it real good to get the surface rust that's formed off of it. Alright, I think I've got that pretty much carted out the best I can there. So our next step is going to be a really crucial step. We're going to apply the first coat of Dicropan IM bluing. And we'll do this for 1 minute. And then we'll take it and put it in the boiler tank for 15 minutes. Pretty simple. Just take your swab, take your hammer, just literally just put it on there real wet, juicy wash. Just rub it all over. We'll get as much of this on there as you can within 1 minute. Get it good wet. All over. Now, we'll take it and we'll put it in our hot water boiler for 15 minutes. I've got everything set up on the timer here, that way I'll make sure that the time is just right. So after that comes out, we'll go on to our next step. Okay, we're in our hot water boil. This is the first dipping, I guess, if you will. It'll sit in here for 15 minutes. Can't tell too much about it. I can't pull it up and show you, because if I do, you know what's going to happen. It's going to dry, and then when I stick it back down in there, we're going to have a brown streak on it, so we don't want that. We'll just leave it in there. After 15 minutes, I'll take it out, shake it off really good, and then we'll let it get bone dry. And then we'll go on to the next process, which will be application number 2, which we'll continue the process after we get application number 2 on throughout the rest of the process. And we'll probably repeat, of course, all your directions are right here. Get everything marked here, you know, you repeat 13 through 16, basically is what it all boils down to, which I'm going to walk you through it as we do it. Alright, let me point this out too. While that's in there for our first 15 minutes, this is the first application. You know, I told you take it out and you put it in the water boil for 15 minutes. We'll like about another minute. It's a good idea to go ahead and clean the bowl out that houses the Dicropan IM. Pour you some more in it, because you're getting set up for the new swab. Disregard the first swab that you used. You won't be using that no more. You throw that one away. So now we got a brand new one. You make 2 of them. And you use the brand new one throughout the rest of the process. So what we'll do is we'll take it out of the tank. It'll have to be absolutely bone dry before we hit it with the steel wool. I'm going to use the same steel wool I used to cart the rust off when I first took it out of there. I will buff it off, buff all that Dicropan fluid off. Then after I'm done, and I get ready to apply the second coat, I'll throw that piece of steel wool away, and then I'll be ready for the new steel wool along with the new Dicropan IM blue and swab. Alright, we're ready to come out now. So. we are. Here's what it looks like. Just a brown, muddy looking mess. So we want to make sure before we touch this that is absolutely dry. You can see how it's wet around the edges, all up in there. It ain't gonna mess up as long as you don't start rubbing on them. Once you start touching it with a wet glove, you're gonna have a brown stain form in that. The only way you'll get that off is to polish it off. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put it right here. Down there where you can see it. And I always go that step and use the heat gun to assist the drying process. Want to make sure it's dry. These little areas right up under here, right up in here, little holes there, they'll leak water out. So you're just going to kind of make sure everything's been dry and shook off real good. The only way they're going to dry is with some heat. Most times you don't need this heat gun, but it doesn't ever hurt to have it around. Make sure these pegs have been dry. Especially right here where the mud looks to be its thickest. Sometimes it looks that way because it's still wet. In this case here, it's dry. I can still see water coming out of them little holes right there, so that tells me that there's a potential there when I'm parting with a steel wool to pick up water and it'll make a streak, and we don't want that. While that's sitting there drying, I'll be filling the hot water boil tank up, topping it back off. I reckon it's heating up. Down to 15 minutes, we'll just keep putting it in for 5 minutes that time after this point right here. Make sure you don't get no splatter on it or anything like that when you're filling your tank up. Basically, the spots are going to form when you start carting it off with steel wool. Make sure your gloves and everything's good and dry. Right before you get ready to part that off, it's always a good idea, although you're in a well-ventilated place, put you a dust mask on. I'm absolutely convinced there's no traces of water anywhere. Double checking in them areas right there. The metal's still extremely hot. Now we'll start parting it off. We'll use the first steel wool pad that we used in the beginning. Making sure there ain't no way you can pick up any water. I know sometimes it slip off the pad wheel and fall into the tank. You know, water dropping on there and doing good. We'll make sure it's dry. Especially right here where these holes are. I can still see a little water down in there, but not enough to really matter because I'm not going to touch it. I think they'll stay in there. They will. In my experience in the past where sometimes the center of this reel doesn't get completely dry, that's fine as long as it stays in there. The object of the game is not to get no water on it. We're going through this process right here. Of course, I use common sense and work around that. Steel wool. Fortunately, it's good and dry down there, so we ain't got to worry about it. What you do is, when you do it, drop your steel wool or whatever, touch it to your gloves. You don't see any evidence of water or oil or anything, you're good to go. Of course, the object is not to drop it, but things are going to happen. This is a lot of work involved in doing this kind of bluing, but it really does do a good job if it's done right. I know when I first started bluing, this is all I've done. I didn't even have the salts at the time. I did all guns this way. That's how come I'm pretty familiar with how it works. Polish the heck out of it. Get all that brown stuff off of it. And you need to use a light like this right here to make sure that sunlight's the best light. The incandescent light works just as well. Just a regular light bulb. I like 100 watt. I wanted to show you this in detail because you want to make sure that you work your tail off to get all this off. A lot of work involved in it, I'll tell you. A lot of detailed polish, and that's how come I I've gotten pretty good at my detail polishing when I used to do this on every gun. Basically, just want to make sure you detail polish it. Get all the brown streaks off now, because when you put that second coat on there, if there's any brown looking stuff still on there, and that's where your brown streaks are going to be. Can't stress enough about how important it is to buff the heck out of it. Oh. Whew. All right. Make sure you get down into the cracks of the where they're joined together. That's where a lot of that brown stuff will be. Mud, I call it. Take your steel wool and work it down in there. Alright. These little areas right here you want to get. Don't worry about these little surfaces down in here. That ain't gonna matter about you anyway. And you don't have to plug the barrel either. You don't want to plug them, that's for sure, because it'll build up pressure in there. You don't want to do that. That's why you have to drill them holes right there. Another thing about the light, it's important to use a light like this, because under a fluorescent light you won't be able to see any streaks. This is like the sun. It'll show you any streaks that might be there. Give you a chance to rub them out right now. All right. It's best to polish this down before the metal starts cooling, before you get that second coat ready. That's where the heat gun comes in, because I'll heat it back up with that. That way I can kind of take my time and be detailed about the buffing of the first coat of steel wool, buffing the first coat off. All right. Now we'll throw the first piece of steel wool away. I'm gonna go in here and get my second swab. Put it down in there like I did the first one. I'm just kind of looking at it real good, making sure there ain't no streaks forming in it or rust forming in it. Well, I know that can still hold away. That's right. Right. Now there, it's looking really nice. That's our first coat. We want to detail polish it with your steel wool. Okay, I think now we're ready for our second application. I'm going to heat the metal up. You really got to do this. It seems to me like it does better when it's still pretty warm. I'm just kind of showing you my techniques. Brunel's has got a detailed instruction sheet on how to do this. To me though, this right here just seems like it kind of speeds things up a little bit. Opens the pores of the metal back up. Main thing is making really sure that you try to put it on there as even if you can. You really got to do this, but it just seems to me, judging from my experience, that it seems to do better with a little more heat on it. You can use a hairdryer as well. I've just got a heat gun in here. Alright, now we're ready for coat number 2. Making sure that we ain't got none of that contaminated powder that we just polished off. Now we're going for our coat number 2. Same procedure for 1 minute. We'll start our application right now. Get as much of that on there as you can for 1 solid minute. Good to have a timer, that way you ain't got to look at your watch and all that. You just keep your mind focused on what you need to do here. Don't worry about the mess, that's where you got to catch things. There's our minute. Put that back in that supply thing there. Now for 5 minutes. We'll let it sit in that boiling water. And then we'll come out and we'll do this probably at least 5 or 6 more times, just like what you've seen. We'll be using our new steel wool and our new swab that we made. The first swab and the first piece of steel wool, I've done away with that. Don't need that no more. And the reason why you throw it away is because you want to make sure there ain't no contaminants that might be transferred. So we just got that on out of there. Now we got a clean swab, and now we got some clean steel wool to carry out the rest of the procedure. And of course you want to make sure everything's bone dry, just like you did in the first operation. The only difference is you ain't got all that mud. I'm gonna call it mud, but you ain't got all that Dicropan IM built up on there. Therefore you ain't got as much powder. So the main thing is just keeping everything dry. So I'll just cut the camera off and I'll go ahead and go through these steps and I'll show you the end result. Okay, we've been in the tank now almost 5 minutes, getting ready for our second coat. And we'll probably repeat this process for, I don't know, 5 or 6 different times until it looks the way I want it to look. So just getting ready to come out of the hot water boil. But pretty much be the same procedure as we used a while ago. We just want to make sure everything's bone dry before we even mess with it. We want to make sure that the metal is good and dry. Use my heat gun there to make sure of that before I even touch it with steel wool. Again, it will produce a streak if you let any water come in contact with it. So we want to make sure before we start polishing it off that steel wool that it is completely dry. We'll position this camera. We'll start that second procedure. Basically, I want to shake it, make sure that it's really dry. The metal's pretty hot, it dries pretty fast. You definitely don't want to underestimate. You want to make sure that make good sure that it is dry. That's why I like this heat gun here. Basically, you want the 2 pegs in the barrel where you can turn it. Put one in, it's real tight, you just use 1 peg, it's hard to get it out. Again, I don't like to put the wood in the boiling tank. It swells up in there and then you can't get that out of there, and then you got more potential of getting it wet whenever you're polishing it off with the steel wool. That's why I like them to be easily removed. There between the barrel there where the rib is, you want to make sure it's good and dry. It's pretty much dry even without the heat gun. Again, it ain't really necessary, but it does help a little bit. I'm ready for that steel wool. I'm going to step out here and get it. excuse the camera. Making sure everything's good and dry. Same procedure as we used a while ago. I like to focus on one section at a time from this point on. In other words, just work on the end of it here and then just kind of work your way back to the chamber area. Because there's a lot of detailed polishing that's got to be done when using this bluing. I apologize for getting in front of the camera, but I want to make sure I'm positioned to put the utmost pressure on this as I'm polishing it. Now this second coat here will be the same procedure I'm going to use throughout the finishing process. I'll probably put about 4 more coats just like this on here. I'll probably just cut the camera off and then just show you the finishing results when I'm all done with it. And I've got a few more things I need to tell you about it, but I'll cover those topics when we're all done. Okay, here we are about 4 coats into that. That's about the 4th coat on that. It's looking really good. Probably just going to put maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 more coats on it, and now I'm going to call that a done deal. I'll go ahead, you know, if I'm ready to come out, I'll go ahead and take it out and cart it off with the steel wool and maybe put another coat or 2 on there, and then we'll look at the finished results. Right, I just want to point this out real quick. I'm on about the 4th coat now. 5th coat, I'm sorry. And basically what I'm doing is, you know, the first coat you really polish the heck out of it. Even the second coat. About the 3rd coat, you just want to kind of just lightly buff over it. I mean, you want to get all the imperfections out of it. They're blended in really good. But you don't really have to kill yourself after the second coat, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You ain't really got to work to really cart it off. But basically all you want to do at this point, just get that dust off of it and blend it. And you'll see the light spots in it that needs more bluing put on it. We're almost done with it. It's really looking nice. Everything's blending in really good. And this is my second piece of the new steel wool, so I'm glad I did make 4 pieces. Because most times you will use them all. I ain't never been able to do a gun with just 2 pieces of steel wool. So it's always a good idea to go ahead and get 4 pieces of degreased steel wool. in right here between the rib there and the barrel. Like I said, you ain't got to really polish the heck out of it at this point. After about the third coat, you can start lightening it up a little bit. In my experience, you can really buff the heck out of it even after that third coat, then it starts taking it back off. Not completely, but it makes streaks in it. So that's why I say after about the third coat, or after about the second coat, I'm sorry, just a light, just enough to where you're shining it up, I guess is a good way to put that. And you can look at it and tell if you need a barrel little more pressure on it. But this here's turning out really nice. It's good and uniform. No streaks in it. I'm going to go ahead and probably put one more coat on it and call it a done deal. Again, I'll set the timer for 1 minute. I'll apply it for 1 minute, put it in the boiler for 5 minutes, take it out, make sure it's completely dry. Then just kind of get that light bubbling, and that's about as dark as it's going to get. Let me get a closer look at it if I can. Alright. I'll heat it up with my heat gun because it seems to me like it does better when you heat the metal up a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and put that last coat on there, put it in the boiler, and we'll look at the finished results. Alright, we got that in there for, I believe, the last coat. Just got boiling, getting ready to boil up. We'll leave it in there for about 5 minutes. I thought I'd take this time here, kind of go over just a few little things with you. Basically, just little old things that you probably wouldn't even think about. I mean, I know when I first started doing this, it just never dawned on me. While that's in that tank heating up for 5 minutes, it's always a good idea to kind of wipe down your catch pan, especially the rim here around the edges. And I'll tell you why that is, because I know in the early days, I'd have water on it, not even thinking. And I'd be caught in that, you know, gluing off with that steel wool, and it'd slip off and touch the rim of that, me not even realizing there was water on the rim of that. Then I'd hit the barrel again, and there it is, a big streak on it. Just little things like that you want to do. You want to make sure that you're totally dry. I always take this time while it's in the 5-minute boiler, dry my gloves off, dry my catch pan up, and make sure there ain't no water, no potential for anything to get the barrel wet while you're polishing that off. That's just a little tip. I thought I'd throw that in while we're waiting on that to come out of there. And I may put one more coat on it after this. I don't know. We'll see how it's going to look. And anyway, I'll be back. We'll show you the end result for this here. Alright, this right here is probably about the 7th coat. Usually anywhere from 5 to 8 coats is what it usually takes. It says in the directions anywhere from 5 to 6 coats. Most of the time you can get away with that. And this one here turned out really good. It's got a few little light streaks in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an 8th coat on it. And what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure it's completely dry. That's the main thing, folks. Making sure before you hit it with that steel wool that it is dry. And usually when you got a few little streaks in there, if you'll get it good and dry, and then just buff it real light, just enough to get the surface off there, you know, just enough to get that chalky look off. It'll usually blend in real good. If you see a streak in it, kind of hit that streak a little bit. And then put another coat on it. And keep repeating the process until it's uniform. Basically what that all boils down to. I mean, I have put as much as 12 coats on there, you know, 12 times. It just basically boils down to just keep doing it until you like, until it's good and uniform, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I thought I'd throw that in while I was doing this. Anyway, get it good and dry, don't buff over it. Making sure the hands are good and dry. We do not want to put any water on it because that'll mess the whole thing up. You'll have a streak on it. And then just basically do like what we've been doing, just a light buffing. Yeah, that's looking really it'll cause streaks. So you just want to put just enough pressure on there to where it blends it. After about the second coat, you start kind of lightening up on your polishing, but you do want to make sure that you get all that, I'm going to call it chalk. The chalky look comes off of it, and you got a shiny black color. When you got that shiny black color like that, you'll know that you've got all that off there, and you can safely put some more Dicropan IM on it, and it won't streak or turn brown. These videos here ain't nothing really rehearsed. I kind of think of things to say as I go. It kind of comes back to me, and I don't want to leave anything out. So I apologize for the unprofessional situation, but hopefully I'm getting the message across, and you can kind of understand how to do this without too much trial and error. Right up in here, I see some little speckles, and I'm just kind of lightly buffing over that, and they're blending in nicely. And this light really helps. It'll really show you where they're at. If you're just using a fluorescent light, again, you won't be able to see the streaks that real good, and you're thinking, man, that looks great. When you take it out in the sunlight, when they're out bird hunting or whatever with it, they'll see all them streaks, because the sun will really bring it out. That one of these light bulbs, condenser light bulbs, I think is what they're called. They're the old light bulbs, you know, before the LEDs and all that came out. Which they've got an LED now that'll, it's just like it. I don't know if that's looking really nice. I don't know if I'm going to put another coat of that on there or not. The more you use this steel wool, that's another reason why I like to make more than just 2 pieces of steel wool. I've got 3 pieces here to work with, and of course the more you use the steel wool on this, it gets real hard. Then after a while, it's almost like polishing it off with a rock, and you don't want that. You want to keep it soft, and you want to make good and sure that you know you got something to buff with, not rub the finish off with. Now when this right here gets wore out, I can grab that 4th piece I've got in there, which is the 3rd piece, but this right here, because I'll throw the 1st piece away. That's really blending in nice. Really good. When you're looking at it, just look at it at all angles. I think I'm going to go ahead and put one more coat on it. Heck, I got it mixed up. Might as well go ahead. This will be about 8 coats, I believe, or 7 coats. I done lost track. Usually I'll write them down or I'll put a mark every time. But for the video's sake, I didn't. So it's going to be about the 7th or 8th coat I'm putting on. I think this will be the last one. Got one more piece of fresh steel wool, and I might as well go ahead and use it up. Just remember, don't over polish. All you're doing at this point is blending those streaks in, and you'll be able to see the streaks under this light the more you do this. I see a few little streaks here and there. Nothing much to speak of, but I'll go ahead and put another coat on here. Just remember to get in between your ribs, that's crucial. that's another tip too I'll give you. Every time you take it out of there and get over here, you can cut your fire off because by the time you get this rub back on there, it should be heated up enough to a boil to where you'll have it ready for another 5 minutes. That way you don't waste a lot of propane. Again, I like to heat mine up just a little bit before I put that coat on there. Hair dryer probably work just as good on this. It might even work better because that way you got some kind of blowing any water part, of course it may be, standing. This right here just basically won't heat everything up. I know most folks have access to a hair dryer, and that usually works really good. I used one of them before I got the seat done. And truthfully, I think the hair dryer works better. The only problem with a hair dryer is, like I say, it'll blow and it might kick up any dust. So you want to be careful if you do choose to use a hair dryer. Run this to a boil. Same procedure we've been doing. Set my timer for 1 minute. And we're on. I always start with where I see the streak at. Just kind of focus in that one area. And over here on this side here. Alright, that turned out really good. Polished it down real good. You can see the end result here. That's why I say if you polish it with 140 polish array and you're wanting that real high shiny finish, usually it'll turn out shiny because all the buffing you do on it with the steel wool. So now what I'm going to do, still a little bit warm, and get all this right here out of the way. I'll clean all that up later. And our next step is going to be put it into water displacing oil. I've got this little rack that I made up, and basically all it does is so it won't lay on the bottom of the oil tank. Set it down in there like that, and I'll let that sit in there for about 30 minutes. And it should be good to go when it comes out. Like I say, I probably put about 8 coats on that. give or take. And you know, if you get a streak in it, really the only way you're going to be able to make that streak go away is to just keep putting different coats on it, and just, you know, just keep doing that process until it finally disappears. And just don't, you know, put a lot of pressure on your polishing with the steel wool. If you decide to do this kind of work using the Dicropan IM bluing solution, you can get this from Brunel's, and when you get it, you can get a full, you'll get a full instruction sheet with that gives you every detail. I just basically wanted to show you how it was done as we did this. I know if you're like I am, you can see it better than you can sit there and read it, try to figure it all out, you know. So I've done figured it all out, and of course I got a lot of learning to do myself on everything. But if you have any questions that I can't answer, you can always call Brunel's. They got a good tech line there, and they'll be happy to walk you through any of this stuff. Well, we'll let that cure out, and then after that cures out, I'll take it out and show you the end result of that. All right, just got the barrels out of the water displacing oil. They were in there about 30 minutes. Turned out real nice. No streaks or anything like that. No thin spots. Everything's good and uniformed, like it's supposed to be. You know, this Dicropan bluing IMs are really good bluing, especially if you're just starting out. It's kind of how I did it when I first started out. I didn't have like maybe 2 or 3 guns, you know, every couple of weeks to do, and so basically what I did is I just got this right here, and I just used this Dicropan bluing IM to blue handguns, shotguns, and rifles. Did a really good job. You know, you will work for it though. You've seen how the procedure is. You got to take that steel wool and you got to card it off, and you got to keep doing that until it blends in and everything looks uniform. That's kind of the basic idea with this. You know, if you get a streak in it, just remember, just keep putting that on there and keep repeating that process until that streak goes away. That's really the only way you're going to do it. You got to do the whole thing, but that'll make it look really nice, and it'll blend in really nice. Like I said, that bluing's mainly for double barrel shotguns that might be soft soldered, or barrels that might have a rib on them, soft soldered. Anything you can't put in the bluing salts is basically what it's for. Like I said, they got other bluings you can use, rust bluing, and, you know, stuff like that. I don't know, I've just always had really good luck with the Dicropan IM. I know it's one of the first bluings I used other than cold bluing. The first hot bluing was a Dicropan IM, and I've really been pleased with it. Then of course, as the business grew, we phased into the bluing salts, and that's really the best stuff to use, especially if you're going to do a lot of guns at one time. But if you got double barrels, soft solder double barrels, things like that, this is the way to go. If you have any questions, feel free to call area code 615-746-9668. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. If I don't pick up, just leave me a message. You can call it Brunel's. They got wonderful techs down there. They'll be happy to answer any questions you might have about their product. And as usual, I hope you got something out of these videos, and I appreciate everybody watching these videos.